Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This is like filling me up so much just to have these conversations with people because I know when I first started into real estate investing, it was scary and it was big and I didn't know where to start. And I started with a lot of you through Mel and Dave's group. And I still felt lost a lot. So having groups like this where people can share their experience and really give some really things that changed people's perspective on this industry really helped. And doing it all at one time is just really nice because we can get so much information in at once. So I'm going to just jump right in because, like I said, I can talk for days and days and days on mindset. So I'm going to just be really concise here. The first thing you have to do is really believe that you are a real estate investor. Surprisingly, when I look back, I only decided or considered myself a real estate investor now, like literally this summer when I started getting into it. Even though I had my first investment back in 2009 when I bought my own place. And then 2016, I sold that one and bought four. I didn't think of myself as a real estate investor at all. I just thought I made some good decisions and I bought some properties for my kids, for their future. And I was just being a good mom and, I was making some good decisions. I never thought of myself as a real estate investor. So that shift right there has to happen before you really make any decisions. Because if you don't feel that you are who you want to be, it won't happen because that's how the universe works. You have to put out the energy that you want to match. So if I'm going into something saying, I'll give you the example of climbing Mount Everest. If I don't in my mind believe I can climb Mount Everest, I might as well not do it because I will keep those limiting beliefs and that self-talk will keep taking me down. So when you first, you have to figure out where you are. Like you got to put a pin in the map of where you are and then where you want to go. And then figuring out that first, when you put a pin in the map, it's like, okay, what things do I need to work on? Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses? And then once you figure out where you want to go, that gap in between is your gap in skills, your gap in experience, your gap in knowledge, all that you need to fill in order to get there. For example, going back to Everest, you need to go to the gym. You need to work yourself, right? You got to have a strong heart. You got to get all the gear. You got to practice. You got to like build the muscles up in order to do it. Because if you just go in without knowing what is awaiting you, you will fail. You have to be prepared. In real estate, that is doing exactly what you guys are doing right now. Talking to people, learning about different industries or areas, learning about what kind of different options are there. So when I went to the multifamily conference in May, that really shifted everything for me because I didn't realize there were so many different options out there. There's private lending, there's, the BRRRR strategies, there's the flips. There's so many different strategies that you need to figure out again where your pin is and then what you need to get there. Luckily for me, when I made my big decisions back in 2016, I didn't realize I was building the equity that I needed to move forward. So great for me. People are like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, is it luck? Or did I just make a good decision? Right? You got to own your like your badassness is what I call it, right? Like don't let people talk that down, be like, oh, you're so lucky, this happened or that. I'm like, no, actually, I just made some really good decisions. And that's what I've done now. So mindset, so important. For me, my personal mindset is my why. And if your mindset and your why doesn't make you emotional and make you want to cry, it's not big enough, period. Mine is my kids. I want to provide generational wealth for them. I want to be a good role model for them. I want them to see mommy is a badass real estate investor. I'm a police officer for 18 years. That doesn't even faze them. They don't think anything about that. They're like, oh, wow, mommy, like, I'll tell you a quick little story. My tenants gave me cash one time for rent. And so I had to take it to the bank and I was showing them like, mommy, what's all that money? It's like, well, this is what happens when you buy a house and then someone rents your house, then they give you money to pay to live there. And just having those conversations with them, is so fulfilling for me because they see that mommy's doing this work and wow, mommy's a boss lady, like mommy has all this money. They're 6 and 8, by the way. So they have a lot more learning to do. But once they get old enough that I can actually take them to events, they will hands down be coming with me. So your mindset again has to be very, very, very strong. Part of the reason why I did all this training with NLP and hypnotherapy is because I knew I had some shit, for lack of a better word, in the back that was really holding me back. And that comes from childhood, family, media, all the things that we grow up with. That's where all that nonsense comes from. And we don't realize it's running in the back. So if you think of it like a phone, it's my phone. We're always updating our phones. First thing that the update does is get rid of the viruses and the bugs. And then if you have these apps that are in your phone running in the background, all they're doing is sucking up energy and you're not using them. So those are those programs that are running in the back of your brain that are sabotaging really like where you want to be and where you want to go. So that's kind of where you have to start with the mindset first. Another fun analogy I use, especially with real estate, because it's what we do, is when everyone talks about building a good foundation. If you don't remediate the soil first, doesn't matter how great a foundation and strong a foundation you have in a beautiful house that you build, you're eventually going to have to tear it down and remediate that soil because it won't last. Everybody follow with me on that? That's what getting rid of the programs in your mind is doing, is really getting that mindset, that those viruses and the bugs that are eating away at your self-confidence, at your goal setting, all that stuff, that needs to be gone first. And this is why I think now if you guys have been noticing, a lot more people are talking about mindset because they realize that is what you need first. You can take all the programs and, learn about real estate and do all this stuff. But if you don't have the right mindset to go into it, it will always hinder you and never allow you to actually get to where you need to go. And we're all capable. Like I'm no special than anybody else. Everyone that you see killing it in real estate doesn't have any more skills or anything else than other people. They just have a very strong mindset and they know that I'm going to go after my goals. And no matter what happens, I will still stay on top. Because as you guys start doing different deals, things will come up. Like Love knows, like I've been dealing with Tulum property since like May or June, and things kept coming up and kept coming up. And I was like, okay, normally I would have been like, you know what, screw it. I can't handle this anymore. Except my mindset, I knew I wanted a property in Mexico. I knew I wanted a place to take the kids. And the fact that it cash flows and it's building equity, I'm like killing all 3 birds with 1 stone. So then the pin in the map, you want to know, why do you want to be a real estate investor? And that goes back to that why. Like, what is it? Do you want cash flow? Do you want status? Do you want, do you want to build generational wealth? What's your end goal? And then you got to work backwards and figure out how you can do that. And then you have to ask yourself, what's been stopping me from achieving those goals? So what is it? Is it you just don't have the equity? You just don't have the knowledge of how to do these types of real estate transactions, whatever you choose to do? Is it you just don't have the mindset? You got to figure out where the gaps are and fill those gaps. And that's what you really need to focus on before you start looking into deals and making deals. People say, well, let's just go and do it. I personally wouldn't suggest that because these can make very costly mistakes. And I've seen people get into deals with people because they, for lack of better analogy, get into bed with them too quickly. You got to date people first and be like, hey, let's see how you do business. Let's see how you do business. I got burned by a promissory note the first time I did it. I didn't get burned. I got it back. It just was a very, very horrible process because I didn't do my due diligence and really learn how people work. So that's one of the things you should really focus on. And then based on how big your skills are, then you know how much work you need to do before you start. Because if you don't have the mindset right now, then I would highly, highly suggest do some mindset training for sure. Because it literally changed my entire life, which is why I ended up getting certified in this, because I knew how powerful it was. What I couldn't deal with for 30 years of therapy, I released in 10 hours in a breakthrough. So I will wholeheartedly suggest everybody do. I think kids should do breakthroughs. I think everybody should do one. Okay. And then network. Everybody should be networking their face off, whatever that is. So once you figure out go to these conferences. I know the multifamily conference in Ontario, in Toronto again is in May next year. I'm going again. I bought a VIP ticket because I thought it was so fantastic that I'm actually going as a VIP. Any type of, I know there's, for women, there's something called the Women's Investors Network of Canada. So I know the girls that run it here locally. So there's probably one in Ontario. So find networks like that. There's so many different groups on Facebook that have free, you don't have to pay for them, free networking events. I think I just saw Nicole do one. There's a Toronto multifamily thing. Just research all of them and just go and meet people. Because if I didn't do that, I never would have met Amy and Ali, and I never ever would have had that thought to do Tulum. I didn't go into real estate investing thinking, hey, I'm going to go buy a place in Tulum. But as soon as I met them and I got to know them, and then Lev and I talked in depth about why Tulum, all this stuff, it actually became a reality for me. And then research. Remember, don't jump into bed right away with people. Figure out how they do their deals, talk to people that they've done deals with, because obviously people are going to put their best foot forward. And, sometimes I talk to people and I got other opinions and I made my own decision. Don't get me wrong. I just researched and got to know people a little bit better. And then figure out what you're starting with. Like, talk to your bank, talk to your family, talk to friends, whoever, see what kind of equity you have to play with, and then talk to someone that is already doing what you want to do in that area. So if it's private lending, talk to people that are already doing it. If it's BRRRRs, then talk to people that are doing that, and then they will guide you a little bit better. Finding mentors, I can't say enough about finding a good mentor. And then know your strengths and weaknesses. I personally hate numbers. I hate spreadsheets. They hurt my eyes. I don't want to deal with spreadsheets. So I will partner with people that know how to do all those numbers, that it can break it all down to me and just explain it to me. I know that's my strength. Or my weakness. I don't care for my numbers to be my strengths. I just would rather partner with people. I know Mel and Dave are all about, no JVs. I think JVs are fantastic because you can partner with people that are already doing what you want to do, get into their networks, learn what they're doing. It's kind of like when I was, through the police academy, you go and you kind of have a field trainer and you're kind of, watching them and they're kind of watching over you. So, for us, my mentality is always safety in numbers. I bought my Mexico place by myself. However, everything else that I've done, I'm doing JVs moving forward, because I would rather have a bunch of slices of watermelons than a bunch of little grapes instead of Mexico. Mexico's my baby. Which, speaking of, I've been talking longer than I want to. Let's move it on to Ali and Amy have this cross-border program, which, again, that's that research. They've already been doing the things that I want to do, so I don't need to go out and find my own realtor and find my own accountant and find my own lawyer and found all, the property management, all that. They have a program that's phenomenal, and I will leave it to you guys now, and I will go on mute. Go ahead, Ellie and Amy.
Oh, is Amy's there, right?
Oh, there we go. You take it away, Ali.
Yeah, I can start. So, hi everyone. It's nice to see you all on here this morning. It's nice to kind of get together with people and kind of look at what everyone else is doing, right? And which is why it's great when Amy and I met Billy, and we met you at another networking event, right, Billy? That was through Amy's contact. And it's just nice to kind of see what other people are doing, because not everyone wants to invest in Canada and not everyone wants to invest in Vancouver, where we're from. And so Amy and I, probably Amy, 2018, 2019?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, well, and 2018, 2019, we started looking at other options because Vancouver was no longer on sale. Langley was no longer on sale. And it got to the point where Victoria and then Kelowna were no longer on sale for all investor clients. And so we started venturing cross-border to see what other cash flowing opportunities there were. And so that allowed us to do our own research over the last 2.5 years and create a cross-border program to seamlessly help Canadians buy in the US and in Mexico. And so we've, and we don't, like Billy said, talk with people that have actually done it. We've both bought in the US before we started telling clients to buy in the US. And then we both bought in Mexico before we started telling our clients and friends and family to look into that market as well. So it was a lot of research and a lot of mistakes that went into it, but luckily the mistakes were on us and weren't on our clients or our friends and family. So just going through, through each scenario and learning more, we've been able to kind of curate this program. That helps
Just to add to what Ali said, I think we wanted to be the guinea pigs for people. I think you can, do analysis paralysis and you can go over everything. And we're kind of aligned very well with Billy when we met her. Just the mindset thing. I remember when I was, this is when I was first getting into real estate, I went to this seminar called Millionaire Mindset. And I remember it being so hokey pokey to me. Like we were high-fiving each other. You had to point in like a stranger's face and call them a millionaire. And I thought, oh gosh, like where am I? We were dancing on stage. I was so out of my comfort zone. I can't even tell you. And now looking back, I still kept the booklet, and one of our really good friends and now clients, Derek Peaver, who owns supersuites.ca or .com, but he has over 100 doors now. And he actually moved his entire family, Ali knows, to Texas, right? Was it Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I met him there. And it was so special. And we're very big believers of mindset like Billy and law of attraction. And we now call things, anything that we invest in, we love to touch it, to feel it. We call it, what is the street energy? What are the neighbors like? Do you, get that spidey sense? And luckily I've always kind of had that with investments before I bought them. But I'm also how do I say it? Nydia. She was saying she loves her spreadsheet and loves her numbers. And I love spreadsheets. I love ROI. I love calculating, what the appreciation might be. And Lev, who will jump on soon and talk about more of the economics. We are economic junkies. We love to follow where luxury hotel chains are going. We love knowing that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars before they go into an area. And that's why we started investing in these different places, because we were kind of riding their coattails. If a St. Regis opens in Cabo, or there's a really high-end supper club that's in Paris and Saint-Tropez, France, that opened up in Tulum and also Cabo. So these are places that, we're watching where they're going. And if they think that there's a market, then there probably is. And so that's where we've kind of been very excited, and Lev will touch on kind of where Ali and Billy bought. I flew there. I went and saw it. Oh, cool. Yeah. Billy saying Grant Cardone's looking in Tulum. And it's just so affordable. We're sitting here on our golden perches, and, a condo that I'm sitting in is like $1.4 million. And for $400,000, I was able to buy like a 3-bed and den, 2,000 square foot, amazing luxury condo in Cabo. And what Billy and Ali bought, it's a villa with not one pool, but 2 of your own personal pools. Like, it's just amazing. And we have clients now that just really thank us for the program we created. And we created it because we made mistakes and because we were the guinea pigs. And now that program is 7 steps to invest safely and securely with, the best lawyers and accountants and property managers and everything. So with that being said, I guess, Lev, if you want to kind of give us a window into paradise, because you're living it. Lev is actually from Vancouver, and he moved his family to Tulum and Playa. So
yeah, thank you for the invite, Billy. Thanks, Amy and Ellie. Yeah, I've been here for 10 years now. I went from cold Montreal to rainy Vancouver to now sunny Mexico full time. And it's pretty great. There we go. By living here the last 10 years, I've seen a growth, but nothing as to what's been really happening over the last couple of years here. Where I live, Playa del Carmen is a great place to invest if depending on what your goals are, just like Billy was saying, if it's more towards relocation or more towards retirement, then that's definitely a city for you, but every city is different. And Tulum has recently exploded onto the international stage. We're getting celebrities, we're getting influencers, and just people that want to experience a different side of Mexico than margaritas at an all-inclusive. Tulum really offers that in the sense that there's not just the super exclusive, nice beaches, but also cenotes, which are underground natural caves. There's archaeological ruins. The gastronomy is next level here. We go on weekends just to go spend a few nights in Tulum and enjoy what it has to offer. I'm heavily invested myself in Playa and Tulum. My team is invested as well, because being here on the ground, we could see what's happening and what's coming. And like Amy was saying, there's a lot of money coming here right now. So the first thing that's happening is in exactly 3 months, less now, 2.5, the Tulum International Airport is opening up with the capacity to bring up to 6 million people in the first 3 years, and then jump to 9 million people years subsequential years after. And then there's also a train that's opening up in December as well in 3 months, which is going to connect half of the southeast part of Mexico. So yourselves, guests, owners can all jump around to different cities in Mexico and just increase occupancy. Those two mega projects combined are going to bring in about 10 million people a year, whereas right now there's about 1.5 million that are visiting Tulum. So it's gonna, in essence, go tenfold of people coming here. It's very young. There's still a lot of things that are under construction and moving forward, but getting into the market now versus 2, 3, 4 years from now is key in my professional recommendation, while things are literally being built from the ground up, not resold at a premium afterwards. Robert De Niro's opening up a Nobu here. There's going to be $100 million mall. It's going to luxury mall opening up. All the main hotel chains, Secrets just opened a brand new all-inclusive in downtown Tulum. And you could still find properties that are affordable. Luxury studios go for $150. Luxury 1 beds go for $250. Luxury 2 beds are $350. And where Ali and Billy bought, it's a 3-bedroom house with a separate entrance to the top room, which you can rent out separately, or rent it all out together. And there's amenities like a beach club, kids area, a gym, a spa. So, and there's plenty of these projects. Tulum's a very small city, but because it's so green and new, it seems like there's a lot on the market. But once it's all built out, there's no other space to go. On one side, you have a National Jaguar Park, which is federally protected, and on the other side, you have a biosphere. So it's very scarce, the land. And the investors that are getting into the market now are going to be the investors that are going to be very happy in the next 5 to 10 years versus people trying to get in 5 to 10 years. Final note, I guess, Amy and Ali, they know me well. I've known these girls for a very long time. The projects that we talk to and recommend to our clients are projects that are good, not cookie cutter white boxes that are just, basic. We have a full team set up here. I've vetted everyone I work with, from property management to legal to interior design. My wife's an interior designer, so I have to use her, and everything else in between, so that it's an easy process. Are there going to be bumps along the road? Of course. It's not as straightforward as an email sent in Vancouver from lawyer to lawyer, money transfer done. There's a lot more steps involved, and it's just a different process. It's not a hard process, it's just different. And I'm here to walk you through that process with the lovely ladies here. And yeah, just get in the market is all I can say. It's still affordable, and 5 years from now, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, speaking from experience, because I'm doing it, like actually doing it with them, it was very seamless. Even though there was a lot of bumps and back and forth and some confusion about financing, it still ended up being very smooth. And even now, like dealing with the lawyers and going over contracts and all that, it's so nice. And it for me, the fact that my realtor is investing in that same spot gives me a little bit of comfort and safety, knowing, because realtors know more than I do, because I'm not a realtor. They know the markets better than I do. So if they think it's a good investment, then it must be a good investment. Otherwise, they would not do it, let alone suggest it to their clients, right? There's one part where they suggest good properties to their clients. It's another one when they invest in it themselves. And Amy, I might be going to Cabo next. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
You're coming.
Yeah.
And just one thing for Cabo and Tulum, I don't know if everyone is local or where everyone is, but we do have an event at our office on Friday, and it's in Yaletown, but you're welcome to come. It's going to be so fun. And that's when we will delve into kind of more about financing, and because there's a lot of confusion, you know, and as you said, Billy, you know, a lot of people think you can just get a mortgage or that there's zero financing available. Both are not true, in the sense that it really depends, like what project are you buying in. That's why we love working with Lev, because he has hand-picked projects. If you go on his Instagram, there's, you know, they have access to 450 developments. Who has time to go through 450? I don't even have time to go through 10, but we will go through enough that you know, he's walked them, he's gone through them, touched the walls, seen, you know, who the developer is. That's where we care about is, you know, we have our girlfriend, I'm picking her up actually in 2 hours from the airport, and she's flying in from Cabo, and her dad's one of the biggest landowners in Cabo. So I know their family, we've stayed with them, you know, we know who they are, and her boyfriend's a lawyer. So these are the people you want to be. We spend a lot of time with those relationships and fostering them, because at the end, it's good for us and it's good for you guys, because you don't have to worry, you know, do we know the developer, or has, you know, have we not seen the product, or I don't, you know, because you can go to Mexico and drive by and you've probably all seen it. There's unfinished amenities. There's, you know, it will be for years. They promise to do something and it's left like a shell. So we don't want that to happen to us. We don't want that to happen to you. So we are very picky with what we put you in. And so we can always, of course, send you the ones that are handpicked. People that obviously in our cross-border program get the VIP experiences, but we're going to go over 2 really good ones on Friday, and Lev's going to go over a couple as well, for Cabo and Tulum. And we're going to have a Mexican theme. So Ali and I have margaritas, palomas, the fun stuff with, you know, taco fino. So got to keep the, you know, even the gelato that we're serving is guava. And so it'll be really fun. We love to have fun while we work, and then, yeah, make you guys kind of sail into the sunset, literally. So
I mentioned it in the chat that the program that you have, because you guys have babied this and put so much work into it, it's not something you give for free. You do pay up front for it. And once you actually transact a sale, that is 100% refundable. So that's what I meant by that comment, is that you do get it back. It's just, they put so much work into this. Obviously they want to make sure that it's going to people that are actually going to use it.
Yeah, it's more like a retainer fee in a sense, because we are inundated with actually we help a lot of realtors, which is, I guess, a good sign, because they all go through us to buy their real estate there. And Lev knows we just helped someone, our friend that's a realtor from Ontario. So he just bought as well a villa. So again, we just get asked a lot of questions, and just to weed out who's kind of ready to go, we charge $14.95, just so you guys know, upfront. But once you transact, you get it right back on your closing. So it ends up being free, which we won't do forever, because we actually are opening our physical offices. Ali opened our office in February in Arizona in Old Town, and I'm opening ours in Cabo in January. So once we have that, it might just obviously not be refundable, but for now it is. And if you know Billy, it is. So
yeah. And if you guys created a specific email for people to get in touch with you guys if they
yeah,
are.
I'll put that in the chat here.
Okay. And you know what? Look at this time. Like, it's only been 35 minutes. I love it. We're so on point that I just wanted to open it up for questions because I know we kind of threw a whole bunch of information at you like, super quick. So if anyone has questions, just unmute yourself and ask away. No questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Juan, go ahead.
So I was wondering, I heard that recently the Mexican banks are able to finance, I guess, non-Mexicans and people that don't have credit in Mexico, and it's something very, very recent. I was wondering, is this true? Because I haven't really looked into it. Because I think that before you had to kind of like pay cash or get your own private financing. So is this true?
I guess I'll answer that one. Good. Yes, 100% true. We work with multiple lenders. It's a case by case scenario, but I'll give you an example of two lenders that we work with. They look at 2 years of tax returns, 6 months of bank statements, and credit scores, as well as one of them only looks at personal income, whereas the other looks at personal and corporate income. The terms are, depending again on the lender, 9 years, 4%, or 30 years, 11%, and it's fixed with no prepayment penalty. The one caveat with purchasing via financing takes a little bit longer than in Canada to get pre-approved. I know in Canada it's like overnight, but here it takes a little bit longer because they have to really do the due diligence on yourself when you're applying for the loan. But to answer your question, is it possible? Absolutely. The minimum down payment you have to put is 40%. The more you put down, the better, because the amount you're going to finance, the less it is, the easier it is to qualify and the faster. And then 60% or 50%, the balance will have to be paid by the lender at the end, and you start making payments to the lender.
Any other questions?
Or does it have to be
Nobody has
incorporated?
one.
Yeah, Nadia, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was asking if it can be done under a personal name or can we incorporate to get the financing?
Sorry, you're asking if you can purchase under a corporation or personal? Yeah,
And
both.
still get finance.
Yeah, both. Yeah. The two ways to buy real estate in Mexico is either through a Mexican trust or a Mexican corporation, and both of those can be held by yourself in Canada, either as a single entity or as a corporation as well.
I'd love to know what options there are. I know you guys said there's studios all the way to 3-bedroom villas, but is it like, are there condos or resorts that you can buy a condo-like thing right at the ocean all the way to further away in a tiny little village? And how safe is it? I think without the resort mentality, my first thought is, can I leave? How do I leave? How do I get my food?
Okay, I guess I'll take this one away as well. Yes, you could definitely. So in Tulum's a little bit different than other beach towns because it's not a beach town that's on the water like Playa del Carmen or Puerto Vallarta or Cabo. It's a jungle town next to a federally protected hotel zone. So there's no real estate that's right on the water, and all the real estate's just behind it. Can you buy condos in complexes? Absolutely. And the complexes that are being built here are, in my opinion, unbelievable. They have every amenity you could think of. They are gated, security, all of that. And they do really well on Airbnb because people love amenities. They love when there's stuff for them to do other than just be in their unit. To answer your question about safety, yes, extremely safe. I have a wife here, 2 kids. There's a very big misconception about how Mexico as a whole is portrayed into the media in Canada and the US, unfortunately. I've never experienced a situation myself that was dangerous. It's us tourists, well, not us, I live here, but most tourists, 99.99% of them are invisible to the criminal organizations. We don't exist. Usually the crime happens between themselves, not with tourists as targets ever, to be honest. And then also the stuff that's portrayed on television about gang wars happening, most of that, not all, but most of that happens inland, where there's the mountains and the criminal stash houses or whatever you want to call them. they're not as present here. Yes, there's crime, but it's not the crazy stuff that happens inland. Mexico is a very big country, and sometimes if something happens, let's say in Winnipeg, then you'll hear on the news, don't go to Niagara Falls. It's like, but why? So it's kind of the same concept. It's extremely safe
add to
here.
that, Lev.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like just being a woman, and I'm single and I don't have kids. So when I go, I rent my own car, I drive around, I fly there myself. A lot of my own dad's like, why would you bring your Rolex? Like, oh my God, so, but I wear my watch and I feel safer there. And than I do walking on Main Street to go to a cafe and get a coffee. I'm always looking over my shoulder because there's so many drug addicts, and I'm worried about them, I don't know, thinking I'm a monster and attacking me. And so I think what I would suggest though, because I was very safety conscious as well, is buy in a gated community and with security, because it just gives that extra level of safety for your, future Airbnb guests or whoever's renting it from you and yourself. And, in Cabo where we're selling, the median, price point for these houses is $3 million. So we're just finding the, more affordable versions to maximize our clients' ROI, but they're extremely safe. And if, whenever you want to fly in, and we've had clients, lots of them go to Cabo and Tulum, our teams will pick you up, you'll get the full tour and you'll feel it right away. I only invested there because I left the resort. I was always going for a wedding in Mexico for, all inclusive. The minute, and Lev knows this, the minute you step outside, it is like paradise. You can't even believe it. And now whenever I go, I'm walking the beaches by myself, and I'm going, because now I know where to go. And it's like, people laugh, because I was like hiding my money, and I went over this hill and, thought I was going to get robbed. And they're just like, what are you talking? They look at me like an alien, but this is how I felt too, until I went out of my comfort zone. And now I'm like, you can't even shut it off. Like, it's so pretty, and you just want to go everywhere, to farm to table restaurants. And
Lev knows I had these issues also, because obviously I have 2 little kids and I'm single mom, and I was like, am I going to bring down there? I've been to Mexico numerous times in resorts. You get picked up from the airport, taken to the resort, you go on excursions, it's all sorted. One thing I'll say is Mexico's entire economy is based on tourism. For a place like Tulum, when they're putting in an airport and a train and all this infrastructure, the government is not going to allow the gangsters to ruin that. And I think, Lev, you're saying like, the Marines and, all the federales, like they're really beefing it up because they know that they want this to be a safe place for people. And I get the media, trust me, as a police officer, one person does, one cop, some shady cop does something, and, all of a sudden we get all painted with the same brush. So I can appreciate that what you hear in the media is not necessarily always what is actually happening. And sure, there is a one-off, but I mean, there's a one-offs everywhere. And, I had a meeting with someone about this, and he was so negative. He's like, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if the rules change in the government and this and that? And I said, well, what if an asteroid comes and destroys our planet? I mean, are you going to live in fear, or are you going to go with your heart and go with your gut and your intuition and know that this is something I want to do, and not talk to the naysayers? And that's another thing I didn't really talk about, is make sure you are around people that are keeping your vibration high. Because if you are constantly, and it's usually family, I talked to my parents about private lending. They're like, no, it's a risk. It's a scam. Don't do it. They don't even know it exists, even though they've been in real estate for their whole life. Be careful about who you bring around you, because most of them will say, don't do it. It's too risky. It's too this. And unless those people have more money than you and are doing more than you are, then maybe take their advice. If they're not, then don't. Because it's like crabs in a bucket. No, come back. Like one tries to escape and they're like, no, come back. It's dangerous out there. Don't go. Right. And they want to keep you in. So that's another mindset you have to focus on, because there are a lot of people out there that are like, no.
Yeah. Billy, I have to run. I actually have to go to Tulum right now and tour a client. So I apologize for leaving 15 minutes earlier. If anyone's got any questions, reach out to Amy and Ali. She'll get me in touch with you guys. And be looking forward to seeing you here soon. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I will see you in January. Thank you, love. Can't wait. Thanks for coming. Awesome. Anybody have any other questions? Or I can just keep talking mindset all day long.
I have a question, Billy, actually for you. When you purchased, I assume that your condo was not furnished. How did you get it furnished and how do you manage it? Is there somebody that does the Airbnb for you? Did you actually have to go there and pick your furniture and set it all up, or how did that work?
Yeah, great question. For Tulum you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not even completed. It's not going to complete until June. So I bought it pre-sale, which that was my jam. That's how I got those other properties, was I bought all pre-sale. Because even now where I bought most of my properties in the River District, it doesn't make sense to buy as an investment anymore because the prices have just shot up. So like what Lev was talking about, but getting in before the big rush, that's what's really important in markets, because you don't want to get there once the rush is there, because then it just jacks up the prices. So the prices that we have now in Tulum is probably, you're never going to see those again, which is kind of what happened with the River District when I bought a bunch of condos down there. Was people didn't have, nobody really knew about it. And, the Save-On wasn't even open. And then all that infrastructure started coming in, which is what Lev was talking about, like the mall and the airport, the train, all that. Now, in terms of property management and getting it furnished, they have all that sorted out. And that was another thing that was really important to me. I don't want to go down there and go be picking out couches and pillows and stuff. I'm not good. That's another weakness, that I'm not very good with interior design. So I will pay for someone to do that, because that money will come back to me tenfold. And the property management company will take care of it all. They literally, I just have to give them my bank account. They will run the Airbnb listing, all of that. So I don't really have to do anything. I just have to tell them, hey, can you block it off for these 2 weeks because I'm bringing my kids down? And that's it. And that's one of the things that was really important to me, was having a place that, because I still work full time as a police officer, obviously single mom. I do my mindset coaching as well, that I'm growing, that I don't have the bandwidth to go and do that, which was another reason why I didn't want to go and invest in a duplex in New Brunswick or something in Alberta, because I don't know those markets. I didn't have the ability to go and do the matrix and run all these numbers and do all that, because I know I'm not there yet. So again, I've just partnered with people that know what I don't know yet. And once I retire and I have more time, then yeah, I'll obviously be learning. In the next couple of years, I'll have so much knowledge about these markets that I will be able to go and do it myself. And that's part of that, the skill, the gap in the skills, that I know these are my gaps and this is what I'm doing for my future. This is a long game, right? If you're thinking I'm going to be a gazillionaire in a year, then that's another mindset issue that we have to deal with. You have to think of 20, 30 years, like what's your end goal? Because real estate is a slow climb, right? It's not, like I said, I bought in 2016 and now, 7 years later, my equity built so much that now I can take that and move it forward. I didn't even know this is what I was going to do. It just worked out this way. And again, I didn't think I was a real estate investor, but here I am.
And just to answer too, sorry, Billy, but for the furniture, because our teams obviously handle it, and then if you want an interior design, that just costs a little bit extra, but then they can choose, the aesthetic that you want. We've got like different packages, but around, just so you can kind of mull over what the cost is, it is around like, anywhere from 20 on the low end to 30,000 USD. Right. All the figures we're talking about today are all in USD. And then the management is usually about 20% per month. But because we run that through our pro forma and our spreadsheet, the cash flow and the rental income you're going to get will obviously cover the manager. And then you'll be left over with your net cash flow, which is your income.
Which is substantial.
Yeah. So, and some months are bigger than other months, because the prime season in Mexico is pretty much October all the way. Well, it's 8 months now. We used to have more of a shoulder season, and now there's only maybe 4 months, maybe 3, when it's kind of more hurricane-ish type season, which is August and September. But I went in August last year and it was a dream. So it just depends. But people are now traveling a lot. And in Cabo specifically, it already obviously has the international airport, but we've been looking at things like knowing the private airplanes, they're flying in so much, like, I guess, so much wealth and money that they had to expand their private airplane area in the Cabo airport. And now they're getting such a huge European influence that they fly direct to Madrid in Spain, and they also do direct flights to London. So once you know, we're trying to get ahead of the curve. And so we know the places in Cabo to invest and the other areas. And I think that's what Christy was saying, you know, you could buy something for, you know, we just sold one of our big listings there. We had a listing there for 4.5 million and it sold, right? What did it sell for? It sold for 4.2. They got a bit of a deal, I guess, but that same place, it's 8,000 square feet, would sell for 12 million here. So it's still extremely, you know, but again, it's all perspective. We can help you with the big stuff, but our passion is to help you retire early with the smaller stuff. And that's what we want to do ourselves. You know, then we can get to the 4.5 million, you know, and have a great, amazing retirement as early as possible. That's the goal. And that's what we'd love to help you guys with. So.
Is there a website we can start browsing through and kind of doing a, you know, advanced knowledge type of thing that we can look at?
We would suggest like sending, like, we'd rather send you the program, you kind of mull it over. It has examples of what we've personally bought, so you can kind of digest everything. That's probably better than just randomly, aimlessly sending you stuff. You have to be qualified. For, you know, for those of you listening, you really do need about 250,000 Canadian to even play in Mexico. I know when Lev says, you know, yes, there's 2 beds for 250,000, but once you add closing costs and the, you know, and you add the currency exchange of chopping the USD down to Canadian, you need that money, and plus the furniture. So Ali and I always tell everyone, you know, let's not even look at it unless you've got access. And again, like Billy said, that's why we love joint venturing. Ali and I have bought, oh God, I don't even know how many properties together. And it's half is better than nothing. So that's how my first property was 250,000 in Morgan Crossing in South Surrey. I still have that to this day. My second one was a joint venture from meeting people like you in this room, because I had no friends and no family to invest with. So I was like, I better find a stranger, because otherwise, how am I going to get, you know, my goal at the time was 3 properties by 30, and I had no money. So if we can do it, you can do it. It's just with Mexico, because of the financing and the USD, you do need some capital. So you either can split that with 4, we've got firefighters we're helping, and 4 of them will go in on our property, right? Because 25%, and they can split the calendar and still give, you know, their keys to family friends and use it themselves when they're not renting it out. There's lots of ways we can brainstorm with you, but yeah, just as a rule of thumb, so we're not wasting anyone's time with what you need access to for capital.
Awesome. Anyone else have a question? Any questions?
I was wondering, with Mel and Dave, they mentioned that we can use our RSPs to fully invest in Mexico, wrap the entirety of our RSPs to invest there. Is this something that can be done with you guys, or
My
something you guys
is
have done
you
already?
can't use RSPs to invest in your own property. I don't know.
In Mexico, you can.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I wish Lev was still on here. Lev actually has had a couple clients that have used their RSPs to invest in Mexico.
Oh.
So he's the best person to chat with about that, because he's actually gone through the process with a client here from here.
So basically, with your services, we're getting Lev and both you, Amy, and sorry, Ali.
Yeah.
So for the 1495, what exactly are you getting? Are we getting access to your team of lawyers and your know-how, or
So pretty
what are
much
you getting?
every single thing you need to invest as a Canadian across border in Mexico or the US. But right now the US is obviously on a bit of a downward trajectory, so we're not selling as much there. We're getting kind of people ready to pounce on the US market. But if it's Mexico, you'll get everyone. So the lawyer, the accountants, we use Mex Law, Mex Tax. So you have like a consult with them, because everyone's so different. So you're going to be different than someone else. And then you get the contacts that took a long time to obviously, you know, talk to about financing. So we would say most of the time you're looking at, like Allie and I are both trying to get about, I don't know, 150,000 kind of for financing, and they'll usually finance up to 40%, maybe 60%. But as a rule of thumb, we always say be prepared to close in cash no matter what, and then use the financing as a bonus. If you're relying on the financing solely and you don't have any of the other funds anywhere accessible from maybe a Canadian property, then we suggest to not do it, because we don't want to put you in any sort of risky position when you're investing cross-border. We want you to be very ready and feeling good. So that's our only caveat, is we want you to be ready. Allie, do you have anything to?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and what you can do is, I think Billy and a few other clients have recently gone through the pre-approval process. So as long as you don't go and buy a brand new car or buy a new property or do something silly before, or quit your job, like we always say to clients, and then they end up quitting their jobs 5 months before closing on a new property. But then they'll tell you you're pretty good. But obviously, like Amy said, it's always good to be safe that way. But a lot of clients, before they're even purchasing, are getting that pre-approval just to see where they stand with how much they can get, from the lenders to purchase with. So.
Cool. And everybody's got the email there, that investcrossborder@gmail.com. If you guys do want more information, or you want to have a sit down with Amy and Allie specifically about your situation, you can always contact them. You guys know my information because I put you all in this group. So if anybody wants to, I was actually thinking of doing another Zoom specifically on mindset, because I have so much to share, and just simple little tools and techniques that I've used through my training that I think would really help with being in this industry. I'd be more than happy to set something up with that. And otherwise, does anyone else have any other questions? It's coming up on an hour here, and I wanted to keep it to an hour. We're good? Cool. Okay. Well, if you guys have other questions, you can always ask them later. And what I actually want to leave you guys with a quote, because when I listened to this, it really spoke to me. And now doing the work that I do, I know how powerful and how true this actually is. It's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. I don't know if you guys know him. He's well known. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. So if you decide to be an international real estate investor, believe it and know that you will do it. Whatever you decide to be, that's who you are destined to be, because everything starts with a thought. You guys thought of, hey, maybe Tulum, and that's how we came to this Zoom right now. So just know deep down inside who you are and who you want to be, because if you don't honestly believe that, the universe will not open up and bring all the resources and make these types of connections for you. And trust me, nothing happens by chance. Everything that ever happens in your life, you have co-created in some way. So the fact that we are all here at this moment, in this time, this group of people was planned, and you co-created it. So I actually really want to give you guys kudos for actually showing up and learning, because that's a big part of this industry. And people think, no, I'll just do it by myself, and I don't want a JV, and I'll figure it out. And the fact that you're here spending time with us and learning and opening your horizons, and that's all it is opening horizons. Now maybe Tulum's not right now. It may be 5 years from now. It might be something. At least you know. And Amy and Allie, thank you so much for coming on. I know you guys are super, super busy, and I appreciate
having us. I put our Instagrams and even Billy's in there because she has really good content. So you guys can follow along. We're gonna, or you can come to our event on Friday. It's gonna be a blast. So
I don't think anybody else.
You're coming, right?
I'll be there, and I got the kids for it, so I'm gonna have enough margaritas for.
Woohoo!
Yes, love
it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Get out of the rain. Enjoy the sun.
it.
Thank you